what's going on, beautiful Jellyfish? It's Tracy. Thanks so much for taking a little bit of time in your day to hang out with me. I really appreciate it. In today's video, we're going to be doing a video on EDH Cards Worth the Money Part 8, which is pretty crazy. I will list the other videos in the down bar below. I'm also here with my tea, which I feel like I haven't had tea on camera in a minute, but here we are. I love tea. I drink it every single day. So I'm really excited about this video. I really like chatting about cards that are a little bit more expensive. And I feel like, and I give this disclaimer in every one of these videos, but even if I'm talking about a card that's $5, for some people spending $5 on a Magic card is more money. So, you know, just as like a really quick disclaimer, that's why I bring up cards that are, you know, usually $5 and up or so. But yeah, some of these are obviously way more expensive. So anyways, I'll list the other videos in the down bar below. I don't remember if I said that already. But this is part 8, so let's just hop into it. The first card I want to talk about is Sigarda's Aid. And I feel like if you're playing an Aura and Equipment deck, like, why not get this card? It's 1 mana and it's only like roughly around $5. And I think this card is really good. It says whenever equipment enters the battlefield under your control, you may attach it immediately so you don't have to pay that equip cost. I don't know about you guys, but okay, first off, I'm not really a huge Aura and Equipment person, but I don't know about y'all, but I feel like if I am playing that, I feel like a lot of times that equip cost just kind of like gets me. I'm like, oh, this artifact only costs like, or this equipment only costs like 2 to play, but then it's like 4 to equip, and I'm like, just that's like kind of a lot. So this card gets around that, and this card's only 1 mana. And it does say May, so let's just say you don't want to do this for some reason. You can just ignore that. It is a May ability, so honestly, I think if you're playing white and you're playing Aura and Equipments, why not play this card? It's great. Okay, let's chat about another card. We're going to chat next about Darksteel Forge, and I'm honestly shocked that I've never talked about this card before because it's so good. It is a lot of mana. However, I think if you're playing artifacts, just play a Darksteel Forge. Like, it's, yes, it is 9 mana, but I also think, too, because it is colorless and you're playing artifacts, you're probably playing a lot of mana rocks and mana acceleration and stuff like that. It's pretty easy to do that, and you just have indestructible. This card's great. It's also just very hard to remove. It also does, it says artifacts you control have indestructible, and this is an artifact, so this is also indestructible. So it's a it makes removal really challenging because you have to play exile. So this card's great. Okay, the next card I want to chat about is Rustic Study, and I'm honestly shocked that I haven't talked about Rustic Study before. I think this card is awesome. Here's the thing, is I think if you're playing blue, just play Rustic Study. Like, there's no reason, I feel like, to not play this card. I just think it's really good. Whenever an opponent casts a spell, you may draw a card unless they pay 1. A lot of times your opponent is just like gets annoyed by Rustic Study. It's kind of one of those cards that like you play and they're just kind of like, okay, like you can have it, whatever. Like they kind of just give it to you, at least in my experience with playing the card. So that's a really cool way to get a bunch of cards, and drawing cards is the best part of Magic. So I really like this card a lot. Okay, the next card is Burgeoning. Now, here's my disclaimer with Burgeoning, is I do not think that you need a Burgeoning in every deck. The shell that I think Burgeoning fits best in are decks that really care about lands. Now, obviously every deck you really want to care about lands because you want to make sure you have your lands so that you can do things. However, the deck that I think Burgeoning fits the best in is like Omnath type of decks. I have this card in Omnath and I think it's just so good. I really enjoy this card. Whenever an opponent plays a land, you may also put a land. It doesn't enter the battlefield tapped or anything, which is really great, unless the land says that. That's just a different story, but this card, it doesn't have that effect. I just think this card is really good. Again, I don't think you should run out and put this in every green deck, but if you have an Omnath type of deck, I think this card is incredibly good in there. Okay, oh my gosh, I talked about this card recently in a video, the lands video, and that is Cabal Coffers. And just, I understand, this is one of those cards that like, I understand this card is money, but it's really good. It doesn't say basic swamp, so you can have this card if you have like non-basics. This card does have that as well, and it's only 2 mana and tap to just get a lot of swamp into your mana pool. This card is one of those things that you can play and you can go off really quickly if you just have a lot of lands. Cabal Coffers is a great card. I genuinely wholeheartedly believe like this card is definitely worth the money. Okay, wow, I for some reason we're talking about a lot of like mana acceleration. I didn't mean to do that on purpose, but the next card we have is Jeweled Lotus. And this card, this was like, do you ever like just love at first sight with a Magic card? Because to me it was like love at first sight with Jeweled Lotus. I was like, oh, I just want this card. I don't own one, which is incredibly sad, just maybe one day. I really want the extended border full art, which is like $350, which is ridiculous. The regular one I think is like 30 or 40 bucks or so. So that's not like that bad. Just the regular like non-foil or whatever. But I think this card is really good. So you sack it and you add 3 to your pool for 0 mana. And yes, you do have to spend this mana only to cast your commander. But honestly, if your commander is high mana cost, I think this is just so good. Or your commander dies really quickly because people are targeting it. I think Jewel Lotus is a solid inclusion. Also, the best spot I think for Jewel Lotus as well is in, I think, well, it makes the most sense, I would say, in like 1 to 2 mana cost commander decks. That's not to say that it can't work in other decks, especially if you're paying like using this for the commander attacks where it realistically doesn't matter. But I think the best scenario with this card is if you could possibly get this card back with artifact recursion and things like that, because then you can just spam this card and that just seems really good. So yeah, Jewel Lotus is a great card. I did not do this on purpose, but Darksteel Plate. I remember when I like first got into Commander and like this was like the card, because like making sure your commander was like indestructible was like the thing to do. Now I'm like, you killed my commander and whatever, I'll just like pay 2 more mana for it, like whatever. That's not to say that I don't think this card is so great. I think this card is really, really, really good. So it's indestructible, and then you equip it and then equip the creatures indestructible. This with the first card we just mentioned, Sigarda's Aid, that's a sweet little combo for you. That is really great. Yeah, this card's great. I like it. It's indestructible as well, which makes it incredibly hard to remove, and the equipped creature you get is indestructible. There's not really a whole lot to say. I think this card is very reasonably mana, like, I think the amount of mana that you pay for this card just is a good amount, because you can also play this card, let's just say on turn 3 or turn 2 if you have like a Soul Ring or something, and then, you know, you can always equip it at a later point, so you can kind of spread that mana out that way. I think this card's great. Okay, now we're going to talk about some new cards, which I'm really excited about. And the first one is Esika, God of the Tree, which also flips into the Prismatic Bridge. And I think both of these sides are actually really good. Let's first start talking about Asika. So she's 3 mana for a 1/4, and she has Vigilance, which is really cool. So you can attack with her, which, you know, is sweet. She's also got like a big butt. She's like got 4 on her toughness, which is great. You can add 1 mana of any color to your pool, which is awesome. And other legendary creatures you control have Vigilance, which is already like really good. To be honest with you guys, I feel like Vigilance is like very underutilized. I feel like people don't realize just how like incredibly good, because I feel like a lot of times we just get like really caught up on like certain keywords, and I think others we just like don't pay enough attention to, and I think Vigilance is one of them. I think Vigilance is incredibly strong. So not only do they have Vigilance, which truthfully you could have stopped there, you can add 1 mana of any color to your pool with those things. And so you can attack, and then you can just chap them for mana. Like, no wonder why this card is like $10. She's great. If you're playing a legendary commander deck, play her. She's awesome. And then her flip side, the Prismatic Bridge, or not flip side, I guess it's flip side. For all 5 colors, at the beginning of your upkeep, you reveal cards from top of your library until you reveal a creature or planeswalker card, and then you put them, put that card onto the battlefield, which is awesome. So if you're playing just like big dumb things, like I think this works in like a big dumb things deck that's like 5 colors, and then you put the rest on the bottom of your library in a order, which I think is really great. So this card is really awesome. I think the best spot for this is, yeah, just like big dumb things that you don't really care about your instant sorceries and things like that. You're really just concerned about your creatures. Because like my biggest thing is like a card like this is just, it doesn't get your instants and sorceries, your removal, things like that. So that you want to play this on a card where you don't really care about that. You're just playing really good creatures. And the really awesome thing too about, another really awesome thing about this card too, is that you reveal it and you just put it on the battlefield. So you can just have like a card that's like 8 mana. You just like paid 5 mana for it, and it's every turn. Very, very, very solid card. Okay, now let's chat about Hullbreacher. Paul was like, I'm putting this in Pirates, and I was like, I don't blame you. This card's great. It's 3 mana, and it is a 3/2 with Flash. Love it. If an opponent would draw a card except for the first one, I just lost what I was saying. If an opponent would draw a card except for the first one that they draw in each of their draw steps, instead you create treasure tokens. So it's like, I'm gonna stop you from getting your extra cards. It's like, I'm gonna be a little bit of death and taxes there, which we love. And then I'm just gonna get a treasure, which is great because then you can sack it to add any mana into your pool. Overall, like, does a lot of things. I'm a huge fan. I like this card a lot. Okay, and the last card is Opposition Agent. I think this card is so incredibly strong. Like, in my opinion, this is one of, like, the, like, top, like, coolest Magic cards I think they've ever done. 3 mana for a 3/2 flash. Already, you had me. I love it. You control your opponents while they're searching their libraries. Genuinely, like, that would have been good in and of itself. But wait, there's more. Whenever an opponent is searching the library, they exile each card they find. That's ridiculous. You may play them for as long as they remain exiled, and you may spend mana as any color to cast them. Okay. What? This card is awesome. Like, this card is so cool. Like, oh my gosh, I need this card. I don't own it, and I don't know what to put it in, but I want to put it in something because this card is, like, super cool. It's just like, and I said this in multiple videos before, I like doing different things. I like being a jack of all trades. I like having, like, an artifact exile thing. I like having board wipes. I like having a creature that does this. I like having a creature token that makes creature tokens. I like doing this, a little bit of this, a little bit of that. This card's like, I hit multiple buckets. It's like, I get to exile things. I love exiling things. It's like one of my favorite things to do in the game. I like playing my opponent's things, and I don't have to worry about if I'm playing their colors because I can just pay mana of any color. This card's 3 mana. 3. Trace mana. What? Dumb. This card's awesome. We love this card. And that is it for talking about 10 more EDH cards that are worth the money. I really hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, go ahead and give it a thumbs up. Subscribe to the channel if you're not already, and I'll catch you guys in my next one.